Hello, everyone. Welcome to Flow 2021. I'm Raj Ramanand, the co-founder and CEO of Signifyd. When we started thinking about creating this event a few years ago, a question we asked ourselves is, what could we bring to this industry that's different? E-commerce had been around for a long time, and there was various industry events that already existed. So we spoke to a lot of retailers and customers, and one theme that began to emerge was that everyone was interested in the future of the commerce customer experience and the journey associated with it. We found that fraud and abuse was rampant, and retailers were adding friction to the customer journey to protect against it. The community was looking for an event where they could talk about eliminating friction or creating flow for their buyers while protecting against fraud and abuse. And hence, Flow was born. But this is now more important than ever. In a COVID and post-COVID world, e-commerce has moved ahead 5 to 6 years, but the customer experience and the friction across that customer journey is still stuck in time. That's what this summit is all about, discussing the new normal in commerce. Challenges to the customer experience journey in a post-COVID world, eliminating friction or creating flow. Today, we're excited to have the opportunity to host this summit with hundreds of participants from across the globe, and we believe Flow will only grow from strength to strength over the next several years. We have a great agenda and a great lineup of speakers for you today, but before we dive in, I wanted to talk about 3 things. First, most of you must have heard that we raised $205 million in new financing, valuing the company at approximately $1.4 billion. At Signifyd, we believe that fundraising is not much of a milestone. Satisfied customers and happy employees are more important. It is, though, a means to an end, and we have some big plans here at Signifyd. That being said, we would not have achieved or reached here without the support of our amazing customers and partners. You are the Signifyd Commerce Network, and we wouldn't be here without you. So I wanted to take a moment to say a big thank you to all of you for your friendship, partnership, and most importantly, trust. It's been an amazing 10 years at Signifyd, and we look forward to the next decade together. Second, we've talked a lot about friction in the journey, but I wanted to take a moment to illustrate better what this looks like as a typical customer journey and then highlight some of the moments of truth. To that end, there's 3 real components to the customer journey in e-commerce. You have the pre-buy button, you have the account creation and /login, and then you have the post-buy button. And when you think of the problems that most people are trying to deal with, they're often trying to ask the question of, how can I do something? How can I process a payment? How should I handle a return? How should I show the right promotion at the right time? The question that often doesn't get asked is, should I be doing it in the first place? Should I be accepting a payment? Should I be processing a return? And most of that ends up being a very manual process. So walking through those pieces, if you start with the pre-buy button, there's effectively 3 components that are in it. You've got the acquisition, discovery, and then the selection. And so when you think about things like acquisition, one of the big questions most e-commerce marketers ask is, where should I spend my marginal ad dollars? If I'm acquiring a customer and those customers turn out to be fraudulent or abusive, should I be spending money to acquire them when the customer lifetime value doesn't really exist? When you have someone trying to search for something and discover something, is there a certain type of promotion? Should I show a promotion to them that allows them to convert faster and potentially buy because the customer lifetime value could be really high? When I'm selecting my items, how do I show them the items that they should be able to select quickly so that they don't end up having to click through many items and then drop off versus converting quickly within the process? When you move to the second component of this, which is the account creation and login, there are lots of questions to be asked around this as well. when you create an account, what kind of PII information should I accept? Should I accept as much as I need, or should I accept just the minimum amount to get me to convert? You have a lot of companies that force account creation versus guest checkout. What's the good and bads, and should I be doing that? When should I require a step-up login when I'm buying something? When somebody logs into an account, do you want to put friction on every buyer? And when should I put the right amount of friction if you consider them to be risky? And then the last piece, which is getting to be really important in this world, is how do you deal with the post-buy button? These are things like checkout. Should I be accepting a payment and deciding to ship, knowing fully well that this may come back as a chargeback? When somebody is now asking for a reroute during fulfillment and they call the reroute center, or they call FedEx, should we be allowing them to reroute a transaction or reroute a delivery? And finally, returns and abuse and refund is becoming a huge issue for a lot of customers today, or a lot of retailers today, where there's a legitimate use case for returning and refunding. But there's also a lot of consumers that find out that this is an opportunity to abuse the system, and they start abusing across the network. Should you allow a return when someone is a serial returner? Should you allow a refund when someone is a refund abuser? These are big questions that are not easy to answer, but that's the core and the theme of this event. And this is what we want to bring people together to debate today. Finally, the last piece that I wanted to cover is that we're living in a world where e-commerce is on the rise for a while. 2020 just flipped the script. Digital is now the new normal, not just for a few, but for the majority of the buyers. It's almost like COVID retrained all of us on so many fronts. But from what we've seen in regards to digital shopping patterns, it's really unlikely that we'll return to the past. We have arrived at the new normal. The growth seen in 2020 with e-commerce share of retail being close to 33% put us ahead almost into 2025. However, with this significant increase in consumer demand, manual workarounds for things like curbside pickup or to prevent consumer abuse are no longer an option. Automation is really needed for scale. But the scale and speed of automation cannot come at the cost of a seamless customer experience. And this is exactly the dilemma. A seamless customer experience cannot be delivered with rigid security barriers powered by legacy processes and delays for manual verifications or complicated authentication methods. We all know that consumers are just one click away from doing the shopping somewhere else. We actually, at Signifyd, ran a survey and found that more than half of the shoppers leave merchants after just one or two bad experiences with the brand. The good news is that technology has advanced and there are solutions to balance between risk and reward, between convenience for the buyer versus security for the seller. It's new, but this can be solved at scale and in real time today. We call this identity-centric commerce protection. It means using the context and intent of the shopper to predict the risk level in real time and respond with just the right amount of authentication when required. By leveraging behavioral data patterns across our entire commerce network of shoppers and sellers, we can reduce friction across every step of the customer experience. That's what we're here to talk about today, and a lot more. With that, we're really excited to get the show rolling. We have some great lineup of speakers for you today. Thank you all for being here and enjoy the summit.